Knowledge was a prison. Knowing that Prestige Lane was wrong, yet having to walk its sidewalks, smile at its inhabitants, was a form of exquisite torture. David and Elena entered a silent pact of performative harmony. They smiled wider. They used the approved phrases. They accepted invitations to coffee. Inside, they were screaming. The ghostly words from the ledger haunted David. It's in the shed. Every house in Prestige Lane had an identical small wooden garden shed. Theirs was locked with a heavy padlock for which they had no key. A standard fixture, the realtor had said. One rain-slicked night, long after the chimes, David slipped into the backyard. The shed lock was sturdy, but the hasp was old wood. A sharp, quiet pry with a crowbar, and it gave way. The smell that wafted out was not of damp earth or fertilizer. It was antiseptic. Clean. Like a hospital. His flashlight beam cut through the dark. No lawnmowers, no tools. Against the far wall stood a metal shelving unit. On it, arranged with precise order, were rows of small glass vials. Each was filled with a viscous, amber-colored liquid that seemed to hold a faint, internal luminescence. There were dozens. All identical. One shelf was empty except for a single vial lying on its side, its cork loose, a few dried droplets staining the wood beneath. It was the only note of chaos in the sterile space. He didn't touch them. The sight alone filled him with a primal dread. This was not gardening equipment. This was a pharmacy for something unholy. The update from the ledger. He carefully relocked the broken hasp, his mind racing. Research outside the neighborhood yielded a thin, frustrating harvest. The local library's archives about Prestige Lane were sparse. Newspaper clippings spoke of a model community development in the late 1970s. There was a single, brief article from 1982. A fire. It had destroyed the original community center. No casualties were listed, but the article mentioned a tragic loss of historical records and community artifacts. The neighborhood, it said, had banded together beautifully to rebuild, stronger and more united than ever. The fire. The erasure. It was the foundational trauma. The before that was not to be discussed. The community hadn't just moved on. They had institutionalized the forgetting. The true horror began with the children. Sam came home from playing with Theo one afternoon. His eyes were slightly glassy. Theo says we're going to have so much fun at Harmony Day, Sam said, his voice monotone. He says it's the best day. You get a special drink and then you feel happy forever. Elena knelt, gripping his shoulders. What special drink, baby? Sam blinked, and a flicker of his normal self returned. I don't know. Just lemonade, I guess. He shrugged and ran off. Lily began sleepwalking. She would stand at her window, staring out at the dark street, whispering, "They're all waiting. They're so patient." The pressure turned into a direct offer. Mrs. Garcia invited Elena for tea. The setting was flawless. The conversation was, as always, pleasant. Then, over the second cup, Mrs. Garcia's smile softened into something that looked like genuine pity. "Elena, dear. We see you. We see David. The adjustment is hard for everyone at first. The remembering." Elena's blood ran cold. Remembering what? The noise. The chaos. The loneliness out there, Mrs. Garcia said, gesturing vaguely beyond the neighborhood. It clings to you. It creates dissonance. Harmony Day, it's a gift. The update is a kindness. It gently washes away the discordant memories. The painful ones. The ones that make you question, that make you feel separate. Afterward, you only remember the peace. You become part of the true community. Like us. It was a sales pitch for amnesia. And if we don't want that gift, Elena asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mrs. Garcia's pitying smile didn't waver. Oh, everyone wants it eventually. The alternative is loneliness. To live with all that sharp, painful noise in your head while everyone around you exists in beautiful, quiet harmony. It's unbearable. We've never had a family choose the noise. Not in the end. The threat was velvet, but it was a threat. Conform or be mentally annihilated by your own isolation. Harmony Day dawned bright and clear. The street was transformed with bunting and tables. The smell of grilled food filled the air. The neighbors were out in force, their smiles brighter than ever. It was a festival of pure, unadulterated normalcy. And at the center of it all, near the old rebuilt community center, stood a cheerful, striped tent with a sign that read, "Community Refreshments, the Harmony Toast." David watched from his porch. He saw the Garcias lead their teenage son towards the tent. He saw the boy, who had recently been a sullen teen, emerge minutes later. His eyes were clear, blankly content. He hugged his parents, his movements smooth, unconflicted. The integration was complete. Then he saw the van. It was unmarked, white, and clean. It had arrived quietly and parked discreetly behind the community center. Two men in neat, nondescript polo shirts and khakis stood near it. They weren't participating in the festival. They were observing. Waiting. Their posture was that of technicians, not revelers. Elena joined him, her face pale. "They took the Hendersons' little granddaughter into the tent," she said. She came out holding a balloon and didn't make a sound. The festival was the delivery mechanism. The Harmony Toast was the update. The vials in the shed. And the van, was it a mobile lab? A collection point. For what? That night, the chimes sounded as usual. But this time, instead of the soft melody, it was a single, clear, piercing note that hung in the air. A summoning tone. David looked out. The unmarked van was still there. And the two technicians were walking, not towards any particular house, but with a deliberate pace. Their path was leading them directly towards number 14. Towards them. The performance was over. The integration protocol had moved to its final phase. They were no longer candidates. They were subjects. And the community, all those smiling faces, would not protect them. They would hold the doors open. They would make sure their new neighbors took their medicine. This concludes part 2 of the Harmony update. The festival is over. The toast has been poured. And now, the doctors are making a house call.